How do you get from this to this in less than 2 weeks? So keep watching and I'll show you exactly how you can get from ordinary grass clippings to usable finished compost in about 10 days time. And I'll show you the exact process from start to finish, how you get from grass clippings that you're going to cut from your lawn to usable compost that you can use in your garden as a mulch or even as a potting soil. So in my last video on how to ration your compost, I mentioned that I'd show you how to make compost in less than 2 weeks. And what this is these are leaves that I've gathered from underneath my hedge. And I've also got this nice pile of leaves here that I've scrounged and got together. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to spread these out on my lawn, and I'm going to make this compost with simple ingredients, with just leaves and grass. That's all that you need, just leaves and grass. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to blitz these up with my lawnmower. It might look like I'm littering, but if you haven't got access to leaves, this is another substitute you can use, is lots and lots of cardboard to substitute your leaves. I'm spreading all this cardboard out on my lawn so I can kill two birds with one stone. So your cardboard and your leaves are giving you carbon source, and your grass is giving you nitrogen source. And the other little kick is either some molasses, some sugary water, some fizzy drinks, anything with a lot of sugar in it. That's going to be your activator. Some human urine even, that'll even do it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix this all together. I have to cut the grass anyway, so we'll blitz it all up. I've got it spread out on the lawn. I can cut the grass and I can blitz this all up in the same go. So with the cardboard, you can stick this through a paper shredder at home, an indoor paper shredder if you want. But the lawnmower's going to do just as good a job, but you might have to blitz it through a couple of times because it could end up with big chunks. But you want them in as smaller pieces as possible. So we're going to go over that again. We're just going to spread it out again and we'll go over it one more time. I've got a good mix of grass, cardboard, leaves. So I'm going to make my mix of sugar water with the molasses and the water. You don't need loads of molasses in here. So all you need is something for the bacteria to feed on. So give that a little mix. So all you want is something that looks like a weak tea, and that'll be fine. When I blitzed everything up, there was a layer of cardboard that wasn't fully blitzed up. It was quite big. So this is going to be the first layer that I put down. So this is my base layer. Now it's important to do this on soil because this process is going to need the bacteria from the soil life as well as the bacteria from the grass and the heat that's automatically going to be, the bacteria that's going to be automatically generated during the normal composting process. And this is going to be what I pile on next on top of that cardboard. If you were making a new bed, then this would be an ideal way of making a lasagna garden bed, and that would be fine. But what we're going to do is we're not going to just use the heat generated from the bacteria to break this down, but we're going to try and capitalise on the heat from the sun. We're having a good spell of weather at the moment, so we're going to capitalise on that as much as possible. Now I'm going to wet it down with the molasses water. I mean, like I say, you can use this with any sugary water, all we're trying to do is use it as an activator, something that's going to, with human urea, it's all fine. We're just trying to feed that bacteria. We're just going to keep piling this on, and we're not relying on mass for heat here, we're relying on solar power. It is going to be quite a labour intensive process. Now we've got everything covered, we've got the pile created, we're just going to give it that final water. This next step is important, that you cover it, and you need to cover it with something dark. So if you've got some black tarpaulin, if not, I've just got a couple of bin liners. I'm going to cover it with these, because what we want is when that sun beats down on this, we want that sun to heat the pile up for us. We want the bacteria that's going to be part of the normal composting process and from that soil activity. If you wanted, you could add some soil into this mix, some ordinary garden soil, because a teaspoon of soil contains billions of bacteria, and we just want to get that to help with this breakdown process. And it's going to be quite labour intensive, so I'm going to come back tomorrow, I'm going to break this pile apart, give it another stir, and then put it back together again, and I'm going to repeat this for the next week to 10 days, and in about 10 days we're going to have some compost that we can use. So I've weighed it all down with some bricks, and I'll come back tomorrow and I'll give this another, I'll mix the pile up again, and in about a week to 10 days, I'll give you an update tomorrow once I break it down, and I'll show you the progress that it's made. So it's day 2 of our quick compost pile, so it's time to check the temperature and give it a turn if we need to. So come on, let's have a look. So we'll uncover this, and let's have a look at the temperature. So the temperature's about 30 degrees Celsius. Well, just over 30 degrees Celsius. So it's time to give this, break this pile down and give it a mix up. You can see that it's starting to break down. The grass is starting to lose a bit of colour. When I open it up like this, it's already starting to decompose. It does feel warm to the touch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this down properly and give it a good old mix up, and then pile it back up again, and that'll get it to heat up again really fast. So we'll start off by breaking it apart, and you can see that it's already starting to decompose. There's some steam actually coming off it, which is quite good for us. I'm going to get all that outside stuff in and the inside stuff out. So the way look, it's breaking down quite lovely actually. There's even some worms moving in into the bottom. So in 2 days we've already got this breaking down quite nice. So we'll give it a good old mix up. There's quite a few of our friendly helpers from the worm family coming in. Give it a good old mix up. And get it back piled up. So this process isn't relying, like I say, it's not relying just on the bulk size of the compost pile to heat it up, which is what you'd normally do with hot compost. It's about the size and about the mass to get it to heat up. This is about using the microbes in the soil, the microbes from the sweetness that we added, the sugar, the molasses, that kind of stuff, and the sun's heat as well to work on our side. By using the black covering, that's what we're using to break this pile up. So if it continues like this, I'm very happy with this for 2 days. So we'll come back tomorrow and we'll check it again, and we'll keep doing these little we'll keep coming back once a day, checking the temperature, breaking it up, putting it back together. I'll show you the finished product in a week's time, in 10 days time, and see how this looks. and how close to a finished product we are in just over a week. So I'll just give it another water before I cover it up again. There we go. Yeah, we'll leave that to cook for a bit longer and we'll come back and have a look. So it's been 10 days since we started this compost pile. Now let's have a look at what the results look like. So the pile looks like it's dropped quite a bit in size. And what we've been doing with this compost pile is we've been coming in and we've been spreading it out and turning it every couple of days. And as you can see, it's broken down really nice here. And especially if you get into the middle here, look at that. You've still got some of the grass there, you can see the strands of the grass, but it's broken down really nicely and a lot of the heat has gone out of this as well. I think this is a good compost now that's perfect for mulching, but if I wanted to turn this into a potting mix, what I'd do is I'd sift it off and use the finer particles mixed with some soil and use that as a potting mix. But I think this is perfect for mulching. I mean, some of the cardboard's still there, but other bits have broken down and you can see how lovely and nice it is in the middle. And it's just full of worms. And what I'm going to use this pile for is I'm just going to mulch this bed that we're on. So I'm going to use this bed here to plant my sweet corn. So I'm just going to mulch this whole bed. It's going to be quite nitrogen rich, this compost, because of the fact that we used a lot of grass clippings. So I'm just going to spread it out on here. I mean, some of the cardboard's still intact, but the grass and the leaves have broken down. Absolutely lovely. And I think that's fine. And it's just full of worms as well. Look at that. Just loads and loads of worms. Look how many worms you've got there. Absolutely beautiful. See, if you want to call in the worms, if you can add the sweetness to the soil, add some sugar, and they'll come running because that's what they love. They love it. And that's one of the reasons that I use that molasses, if you remember. Because you want to bring in the worms, and I think that's a fine, it's a good nutritious compost, and we've made it really fast in less than 2 weeks. I think that's perfect. So it's ideal for a time like this. Now, if you've got access to chickens and you want to make a lot of compost in a lot of time, go and check out my chicken composting video that I put out a couple of weeks ago. Really simple, really easy to follow. Check that out, full of information. And I'll see you on the next one. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.